Alright, howdy there folks, me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel, your guide into all things martial arts cinema related. Why? Because of course folks, I know, Kung Fu. So, yeah, I'm back after something of an absence, not too bad this time around. I'm back in my official capacity, minus my quote-unquote trademark coat, you might have noticed. I didn't lose it or anything, it's hot and muggy, I don't feel like wearing it right now. But yeah, so I'm back, so I'm here to do a review. Yay, review! Before I do that, we'll go ahead and do a few newsy things and stuff and things. First of all, congratulations to me. And very easy to congratulate yourself, isn't it? But to congratulate me and to congratulate you, folks, the viewers of my goofy little show, and to my 10 subscribers. Much appreciated, folks. Love ya. Even though I don't know who all of you are, because some of you have privacy settings that won't let me know who you are. But yeah, and you know, even though I'm sure some of you don't actually watch my videos, you just subscribe to me for whatever reason. But yeah, why? Because, hey folks, turns out I just passed 200 views on my, my video review for, Wrath of Vajra. I don't know exactly why that one's doing as well as it is, because it presently is more than double anything else I've got. Closest I've got other than that was Ong Bak, and that's like 80-something. But what the hell ever, man. Hey! Wrath of Vajra, why not? Maybe it's just because it's a newer film or something. But in any case, yeah, so that's doing well, so booyah, folks, booyah. But yes, that's pretty much the only really news thing that I had to go into right now. So, what else am I here to do? Of course, I'm here to do a review, folks. What am I reviewing? Boom! Battle Warrior. Starring, boom! Whoosh, Tony Jaa? No, actually. He, in fact, is not the star, despite very misleading cover. But, hey! Panna Rittikrai! Obviously it stars him, right? No! Not even a little bit. Him less than Tony Jaa, in fact. Christ. But yeah, in any case, why am I reviewing this film? Well, if you watched my most recent reviews, or my special features, I roll my eyes sarcastically. You might have noticed that, yeah, or not have noticed, but then you might already know that, of course, I'm doing, in honor of the very sad passing of the late, great Master Panna Rittikrai, I'm going to do reviews for all of his films, at least all of his films that I own. And although I'm not going to go into everything just yet, I'll go into the review, but needless to say, Master Panna has a rather diminished role in this film. He is still in it, and so I'm going to count it as being one of his films. And I'll be honest, I had really remembered incorrectly, as it turned out, him having a much bigger role in this film. But he doesn't, but again, I watched the film, and so I'm going to review it, and if you're inclined, you'll watch it. And if you're not, then you won't. So that's how things work. Anyway, so yeah. This is the film that I'm reviewing, so I'll go ahead and we'll do a little background for the film, I guess. I believe it was done in 1994. It's a Thai film. If you Tony Jaa and Rittikrai. I don't have a lot of information on it, you know, because just not a huge amount for it, but it also, I will say this, in looking things up, it's also known by the title Mission Hunter 2. Now, here's the thing about that. I looked into it, and there's like a trivia thing on the IMDb page for it, saying, you know, joking that there's no Mission Hunter 1. But at the same time, this is the 2-disc collector's edition. Why you would collect this, I don't know. But then again, I'm collecting it, I suppose, so I guess I do know. But on the second disc, there's interviews with some of the people who actually made this film, and they specifically allude to a Mission Hunter 1, and they specifically call this film Battle Warrior. Which really makes me wonder if there isn't just a bunch of stupid going around in terms of, like, the IMDb page and stuff, and, like, people saying that this is Mission Hunter 2, when in actuality it's just Battle Warrior, and Mission Hunter 1 and 2 are completely different films. Or could be that they translated the thing wrong. I don't know. So that's pretty much what I have on this film, is effectively, it was made in 1994, it's a Thai film, and it's just got a confusing title. So okay. Let's go ahead and go into the film then. Boom! Film. Because it's synopsis. Wow, I haven't done that in a while. Felt good. So yeah. If it doesn't star Tony Jaa, and it doesn't star Panna Rittikrai. Well, who doesn't star Brandon? Well, it stars a guy, kind of, named Thenapon Malawan. My little cheat sheet over there, of course, folks, you're familiar with. He plays a character named Top in the film. And what's significant about this guy? Well, he actually went on to direct films later on, under the same company, actually. And he directed a couple of films, which, if you're a fan of the genre, you might be familiar with, and if you're not, you might want to check out, called Brave and the Sanctuary, starring a guy named Mike B. I'm not going to go into the whole thing with Mike B, but there is actually, like, a cool, if you look into it, there's sort of an interesting, cool little, like, circle of life thing between Mike B and the company that he works for, well, sort of works for, I don't think he does anymore, but the company that produced his films, and Tony Jaa and Panna Rittikrai and the whole thing. Maybe I'll do a review for Brave or the Sanctuary at some point, and I'll go into it. But not right now. That's not what this is about. But yeah, he went on to direct those, so that's kind of the cool, interesting thing about him. You know, like I said, hey, you know, you might, if you enjoy kind of the Tony Jaa style of stuff, you know, you might be interested. They're not great films, but they're good for what they are. And they're relatively cheap. So aside from all that, what's the film about? Alright, well, I'm going to go into sort of like the meat of the film right now. I'm going to try to do that, and then that'll be how I do this, instead of just dragging it on. The film takes place primarily in this area of kind of Thailand. I think it sort of crosses a few borders, known as the Golden Triangle, which is kind of this nefarious, very, you know, notorious place for, like, heroin and opium production and stuff, and it's grown there and then sent around the world. So what's the movie doing there? Well, there's this guy named General Zhang, and he's the main villain of the film, and he has this sort of drug empire featured there. And while having said drug empire featured there, a couple of guys get captured, they're stuck in his territory, and so people gotta go in and save them, right? Right. So that's what the film's about. It's about these guys going to save these other guys. So I'm gonna go into that. So who are these guys? There's two of them. There's a foreign journalist, who that's all you ever learn about his character, and I think he has all of 3 lines in the entire film. And then there's another guy who's this archaeologist dude who's looking for this artifact known as the Golden Stone, I think, is what it was called. What do you need to know about the Golden Stone? Nothing besides the fact that it's the Mcguffin for the entire thing, even though it's really not. You honestly could have done away with it and it wouldn't have mattered. But I'll go into that a little bit more later. Instead, so we'll go into kind of what's going on. So, archaeologist guy is looking for the stone. He encroaches on the territory, gets captured. Oh no, we've got to save him. Who's got to do it? We've got to go over there and get ourselves a super group together to save the day, I guess. So Supergroup is funded by Archaeologist's daughter, even though they don't really explain how she has the money to get this group together. Unless, hey, maybe in that, mid-1990s Thailand, maybe supergroups were, mercenary groups were going for a premium back then. I don't know. To be fair, I don't know what they go for now. Fuck it, man. Maybe, hey, if they're going for a good rate, are they going to Thai Craigslist or something? How cool would that be, right? I'd do that. Go over there and just have, your own mercenary group. Pay them at scale or something like that. But yeah, so she gets this group together. And the group are obviously the characters that you're going to be following for the film. So who's the group? I'm going to go into the group. There's the aforementioned Top, Thanapan Malawan, who I'm just going to call Top. And his role in the film, like I said, he stars in the film, but not really. I don't know you can honestly say anybody really stars in the film, per se. And I'm not even going to say that even if there were someone who was the star of the film, that it would be him. But he's in the film and he has a speaking role. He plays sort of like the standard sort of wuss of the team. He's sort of a pansy, not really all that brave or concerned with anything. And on top of that, they even say at one point in time that he was apparently convicted of second-degree murder. So, good dude to have on your team, I guess. But, and he's relatively useless. He's the putz of the team. That's what he's there for. So it consists of Top, then you've got Top's brother, who we're just going to call Standard Leader Man, because honestly, the dude had nothing to offer the film besides being just Standard Leader Guy. I guess maybe he's the star of the film, but even then, I don't even know, I couldn't even tell you, who the actor was. He wasn't anybody I recognized. And trying to look up Thai stuff. Thai films from the 90s on IMDb, best of fucking luck. So you've got Top, you've got Standard Leader Man. You've got a bunch of mooks. They're just mooks. Two of them have names, and I'm not going to bother, because they didn't do anything of any substance, so mooks. You've also, of course, you've got the daughter. I forgot to mention that, but she's on the team too. I don't know why at all. I guess to make sure that they don't run off with the $5.25 an hour she was paying them. Because why the fuck would you? I don't know. I get, I know you want your dad to be safe. Fair enough, but that's why you're hiring these guys. I'm not going to go onto the team, because then if they lose, if you're alive, you can apparently go over there down to the fucking Home Depot and hire yourself some more guys. Since apparently it's that fucking easy. I'm not going to lie, folks, this film is based heavily on your ability to just run with the film. It works off the idea you're not going to ask a lot of questions. And unfortunately, I tend to ask questions, despite the ability to have fun with it. So yeah. Aside from that, you've also got a guy, this big burly German dude, played by a guy named Christoph Klüper. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. It's got one of those U's with the two dots over it. And if I'm not mistaken, that makes a U sound, which would make him Klooper. Or Kloopel. Kloopel. Who plays his character named Smith. But I'm going to call him who he really is, which is Sergeant fucking Slaughter. He is just this giant, burly German dude whose job on the team is to be the giant, burly dude who just smashes into people. I love him. I'm sorry, he's the fucking main character of the film for me. And of course, rounding out the team is the one useful fucker on the whole goddamn team, if I'm entirely honest. This guy named Arsu, who is this, like, hunter guy who's, like, familiar. He's, like, the lay of the land guy, who's, like, good with a knife and tracking skills and that whole thing. You know, and he's the badass fighter of the team. So that's the super team, and then just mooks. And it's their job to go get archaeologist guy and random journalist guy who happen to be friends with Sergeant Slaughter. It's their job to go get him back. So, for $5.25 an hour. So they have to go get him back. In the meantime, General Zhang's over there. He's got his empire. He's just laughing it up. Dude loves it. And he's kind of consorting with his fellow evil guys, you know, other guys who are sort of benefiting from his empire. And, you know, there's like a Japanese guy, there's like a Saudi Arabian guy, and there's like one other guy who is fucking pointless. I only even bring those guys up because Japanese guy can fight, and Saudi Arabian guy apparently will pay, his bosses will pay $1 billion for the Mcguffin of the film, the Golden Stone. So they've got to make their way through the territory to get to the place. So that's where things start happening. There's black goblins and zombies and big burly German man and explosions and things, man. Oh, man. Okay, so they've got to make their way through the woods, through the whole forest area, to get to the, you know, the whole General Zhang and his group. By the way, Tony Jaa's character, he plays a guard who works for General Zhang. He's, like, supposed to be the perfect warrior, even though at one point in the film he very nearly gets his ass handed to him by the one Japanese guy, which kind of throws away the whole perfect warrior thing, in my opinion. But I really don't know why they had that in the film. But in any case, so yeah, that's his role in the film. I think he has, I think he says maybe a dozen words in the film. It's probably for the better. I will say this about his character. If you're a fan of Tony Jaa, I would definitely suggest checking out this film, because this is definitely, you're getting to see sort of the progression of Tony Jaa in the film, from this to where he is now. Because I sort of consider this to be sort of like his Yuen Biu period, where he was a much more kind of gangly, scrappier kind of guy who was very big on like the whole acrobatic aspect of his fighting. Comparatively to now, when you look at him, he's much more solid, you know, I'm going to actually beat the shit out of you type of guy. So, there's that interesting little, not even a fun fact, just fun opinion, I guess. Sorry for all the water, my throat's very dry. For whatever reason. So, yeah. That's what the film's about. They make their way into the jungle. They run into these, like, native tribesmen guys, known as the Black Goblins. They've got to fight them off. They're awful. They're just awful. They really are. Like, I guess, like, their whole thing is, like, they go over there and their whole plan, the tribes people is like they rob and kill hunters and stuff and I guess take their shit and everything. They just do a miserable job of it. Like, there had to have been like 30 of them, and like, you know, I would honestly say like the entire group probably, even though at times like the number of the group changes throughout the film, like in terms of, you know, you see mostly the main cast, but then there's also mooks. And whether or not they decide to show you those mooks is entirely scene to scene at times. So, there had to have been like 30 plus tribesmen versus, I'm going to go ahead and say, no more than 8 people And I mean, you know, they had the advantage of the lay of the land and everything, and poisonous weapons and all this stuff. Still got the shit kicked out of them. So that's basically their whole role in the film. And so, well, and I guess the sort of the other thing is to introduce the zombie, played by none other than Master Panna Rittikrai. He has 0 lines in the film, and basically is just there to get stabbed and shot, and kill a few people. Namely some mooks. Doesn't even get to kill, like, an important character. And so, I mean, you know, that brings me to Master Panna Rittikrai, the late, great Master Panna Rittikrai, for his role in this, which very well may be the worst role that I have of his in any of his films. Not because he's playing a zombie who doesn't say anything. I have other films where he did that, but at least in that, he got to actually kick some ass. In this, he really doesn't do much of anything, if I'm entirely honest. Like I said, he mostly just stands there and gets shot and stuff. And once in a while, he kills some people. But he's a zombie, and they shoot him even though they were trying not to shoot people, because they didn't want to alert General Zhang and his men in that whole dumbass plot device. And then they end up blowing him up with a grenade anyway. Guess what happens? They get captured. They get brought back to General Zhang's camp. And in the meantime, General Zhang's trying to get information out of the poor archaeologist dad guys, you know, about the Golden Stone. Again, so fucking pointless. But most of them get captured, except for Arsu, Top, and Standard Leader Man. But, unfortunately, Sergeant Slaughter, Pretty Lady, the daughter, and, Mooks, just Mooks. They all get captured. A couple Mooks die. No, I think just the one, really. Yeah, the other guy died in the forest. But, how professional I am with my reviews. But yeah, so they get captured, and so, you know, of course, now, you know, whereas before they had a super group to go over there and save 2 guys, they now have 2 competent guys plus Top to go over there and save, you know, 2 guys plus 2 of their own people. Things have gone from bad to worse. So, probably at this point, I would say in terms of, like, memorable moments, you know, it's... Because it effectively becomes the... It effectively becomes the scene from Predator where they're raiding the village. Like, it's a bunch of explosions and people getting their necks broken and fighting and ass-kicking and this whole thing and just all kinds of stuff. Really, before that, I think the only specific scene of note is, like, they've been torturing this poor archaeologist guy for, like, a year straight to get the information out of him for this whole dumbass Golden Stone thing. But now they've got his daughter there, so they've got some leverage on him. Now they're going to torture her, what are they going to do, this whole thing. There's... The only reason why I bring this scene up is just because it's like, it's one of those things where it's one of the few scenes in the film where, despite a lot of continuity errors and a lot of, like, just sort of, you know, you have to give the film a wink and a nod to kind of just keep progressing with it. This is one of the rare moments where it's like, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, that would work in reality. Because... First they go over there, like, they threaten to kill her. Which is, in and of itself, is kind of funny. Because first they threaten to kill one of the mooks. And this is how you know you're a mook. They threaten to kill one of the mooks, and then they proceed to kill the mook. Nobody says shit. They're like, oh no, you know, they're sad. But nobody once stood up to defend the guy. They point the gun at the girl, they immediately start trying to throw out information to save her life. That's when you know you're a mook. But... So after that, the guy, General Zhang, has a stroke of brilliance. And I have to admit, I will give him this. This was a stroke of brilliance. And again, probably the scene in the film that I really do think makes the most sense. Because in a real-world situation, I think this would be nearly flawless logic. Instead of going over there and, I'll torture her, I'll do this, that, and everything, he just goes over there, lines up all of his men, and flat out tells the guy, here's how this is going to go. You're going to tell me where the Golden Stone is, or I'm going to let my 200-plus men run a train on your daughter while you watch. That's his reasoning. And it's like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, for me personally, watching the film, it's like zombies and black goblins and Three Stooges-esque type fighting at times, and, this whole goofy thing. And then there's this, and it's like, yeah, that seems about right. That seems like what an awful, heroin-pushing drug lord in the middle of the Golden Triangle would do in that situation, and it seems like it would be effective. And sure enough it is. Lo and fucking behold, Dad pretty much immediately gives up the information. Because, you might have some issues with your daughter or whatever, but I don't know too many folks in the world who would be willing to, just... Not only do you get to stand there and watch as your daughter, like I said, just gets run a train on, but I mean, it's not just one or two, it's like the guy emphasizes, it's at least a couple hundred guys, which is just horrible. Like, I'm not laughing about it because it's the situation itself is funny, but just the odd gravity of the situation, given most of the film, is oddly it's very, very to the point. It's like the one moment in the film where I think is just flat out, there you go, that makes some sense. So in any case, they go out to go grab this dumbass Golden Stone. And by the way, this is how little the fucking stone meant to anything. They go out, find the stone. While they go to do this, Arsu, Top, and Standard Leader Man go to save the day, start causing all kinds of problems, blowing up the village, to go save them. And in the meantime, they're on their way back, and they've got the Golden Stone. And that's it. That's the last time you ever see the Golden Stone. It effectively exists for the purpose of having a reason why the archaeologist guy was there. Not the other guy, by the way, the journalist guy, who again has 3 lines in the film, and his entire... he is more of a Mcguffin than anything, than even the fucking Golden Stone, because his whole purpose is just to have the big burly German Sergeant Slaughter guy in there. But again, a wink and a nod. And so it's the Golden Stone, literally, it's just that, and then to make sure that General Zhang and his best guys are sort of like away so that they can start, shooting this place up and bombing it. Which even that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, because it seems like regardless of the situation of whether they were there or not, they would have just eventually come to this conclusion anyway, because they had to save them. So, and like I said, it's never retrieved or anything. Nobody goes back into the blown-up village to get it. But in any case, so yeah, there's explosions. You get to see Sergeant Slaughter just tear through his restraints and start pushing around a bunch of, 5-foot, 150-pound Thai guys, who it's like, I don't care even if you are one of these Thai stunt guys who, you've been blown up and dropped from 50 feet heights with no protection or anything, and you get kicked in the face all day. I still have to imagine that it's probably terrifying to watch this giant burly German guy just run at you and like a fucking locomotive slam into you. But yeah, so there chaos ensues and everything, and Arsu being really, again, the only member of the team really worth a damn besides Sergeant Slaughter's ability to run through everything in the immediate area. He goes over there, he has a fight with one Japanese guy. and they go over there and duke it out. You know, it's an okay fight for what it is. And then, of course, you get to the final fight between Arsu and Tony Jaa, the big fight of the film. Which is okay. I'm going to be honest. It's not as good as it could have been. I will give a lot of credit to Arsu, to whoever actually played him. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. If he was just another member of Panna's stunt team, or if he was like actually a guy, or if he went on to go do other films. Because I'll give the guy credit. He was, a little wooden in terms of the acting, but in terms of actually the ass kicking and stuff, he did a pretty good job. But for what it's worth, the fight was okay. So while explosions and things are going on, and the Predator's off in the background cackling, and the Golden Stone is just, left to rot, and the foreign journalist who's there for no reason but to bring Sergeant Slaughter there gets saved, has 3 lines, and then gets saved. And, that's pretty much how things go. That's really more or less the end of the film. Well, okay, I guess General Zhang, things don't go too well for him. I won't go into the specific details, but yeah, things don't go too well for him. And Tony and all those people and stuff. And so yeah, that's more or less the end of the film. It literally ends with them running away. I guess they cross the Thai border, which apparently is like the safe zone, when you were a kid playing tag, in first grade, you couldn't pass the safe zone. I don't know why they couldn't shoot into the safe zone, as it were, but they don't. So that's the end of the film. Okay, let's go into the good and the bad of the film, right? Because that's really the review part of the thing. So the good and the bad. Let's do some good. Well, I'll say this for what it is, despite the fact that, it's obviously got a lot of connotations like Rambo, and like I said, Predator. That's not a bad thing for what it is. I personally, despite all the jokes that I've made about the film, which aren't really jokes for the most part, I'm just being fairly accurate. Despite, I will say, I enjoy the film. It's very much a film. Yeah, mustache got all sweaty. It's very much a film in the time and place that it's from. So I personally think you can only fault it so much. And in terms of, when they got away from the goblins and the zombie for no fucking reason, once you got past that whole thing, and you got really down just to the action and stuff, I'm not gonna lie, the film doesn't have a lot of substance to it. But the action actually is pretty good. And the stunts are pretty great, because, it's Panna and his team, so of course the stunts are pretty great. And there's plenty of explosions, many ramshackle shacks getting blown to high heaven, and people getting kicked around and stuff. And, like I said, you got a big burly German dude, you've got Tony Jaa, Panna Rittikrai blew up already, I guess I didn't mention... Well, you know what? I won't even go into that. I'll leave that one for you folks, in case you decide to watch this film. But no, I guess the good thing about it is, the atmosphere of the film, for the film for what it is. Which is just, it's a dumb 90s action film that would have done Stallone or Schwarzenegger proud. It's not a smart film. It doesn't try to be a smart film. It just tries to be a fun action film. And for the most part, I'll say this, it pretty well succeeds in that. Particularly, like I said, if you bypass, the goblins and stuff. But even with that. So it has that going for it. The bad. Let's go into some of the bad. the overall lack of logic that this film forces upon you to try to take the film from point A to point B. Like I said, if you take the film for what it is, you just have fun with it, with the wink and the nod being what they are, you can have fun with it. If you're the type of person where you can't do that, you'll never be able to have fun with this film, because it just does not let you. Too many MacGuffins, too many leaps of faith, too many nonsensical things going on. Why is there a zombie in the middle of the film for no goddamn reason that happens to be Panna Rittikrai? It's basically the whole point of that thing, which is basically just blow up Panna Rittikrai. You could have done that in so many other ways where he wasn't just a zombie for no reason. But, other things, the action could have been shot better, if I'm honest. The fights, they weren't the best choreographed I've ever seen out of Thailand or, really anywhere. They weren't terrible. I'm not trying to say they were terrible or anything. And actually, there's some pretty decent movements in there. But you could tell this was pretty early on. The fights needed more wide shots so you could really get a great sense of the action. They also needed longer shots so that, you could really see them doing this whole thing, from point A to point B to, from flip to kick to flip, whatever you're doing. Definitely was lacking that. Aside from that, I don't know. I guess another good thing I would say about the film is that the premise for the film is not entirely idiotic. If you were to have taken the general feel of it, the general theme, and used that as like a base model for the film, and filled certain things out, like the characters, for instance, which I guess is another bad thing, is just the characters are the characters. They just exist for the sake of existing in the film. By and large. In fact, I would say probably the character you get the best sense of is General Zhang, because he's awful, and, but he's charismatic, compared to most of the characters in the film. But in terms of, that's kind of what this film is it's less of a finished product and more of, the framework for an idea. But it's like there was no second meeting to actually really fill it in. But if you were to have taken the general premise, added some character development, even just some background to the characters, because you really don't get a good idea of why most of these people are doing this, other than, I guess just the financial aspect. But if you had taken that, even you could have gone over there and made, you could have had the tribesmen. Fine, let's have the Black Goblin tribesmen. There's no reason why you couldn't. But you go over there and take away some of the slapstick element of them, and have them just be, these, tribe group that they get to go over there and fight in the thing. It's not a bad idea. Even the zombie thing, you could have worked that in a way where, I don't know, maybe, instead of being a zombie, maybe they were, just like this group of cannibals or something like that, or just this, fucked up guard or something that General Zhang, left out in the forests, for any possible trespassers or something, crazy cannibal guy. You could have done that, but they didn't. So, the overall of the film. It's a fun film. I enjoyed it for what it was, which was not a film that starred Tony Jaa nor Panna Rittikrai, but did have a big burly Sergeant Slaughter character in there. It had some decent action in it, and it had some explosions, and it wasn't all bad. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll do a rating on this one, where does it stand on the scale of 1 to 10? With 1, not even 1, the bottom of the scale. I'm doing this wrong. The bottom of the scale. So low. Just the sandworm's gullet that is Ninja Revenge. Though I think it's actually, I always forget if it's Ninja Revenge or Ninja Vengeance. Either or. Ninja Vengeance, I think is what it is. With, again, just Sandworm's Gullet, all that bad stuff. The absolute bottom. And the absolute top being, if this film actually had starred Tony Jaa and Panna Rittikrai, that's the top. Where does this film stand? Let's do Wheel of the Fortune here. What does the wheel say? It's like a 5. What's a 5 on the scale? A 5 on the scale is... A 5 on the scale is pretty much exactly what this film is. It's just, I guess, trying to think of a good analogy for a 5. A 5, I think this is like the lowest one I've ever rated. A 5 on the scale is just, I really don't even have a good analogy for it. Honestly, I don't. I'm so... You know what? A 5 is like going out, you know, to go get the mail, and you run into the tribesmen from this film, but they're as competent as they are in the film, and so you get to beat the shit out of them pretty easily. There's no real sense of accomplishment, but at the same time, you did beat the shit out of about 30 people. It's a good 5. I like that. So in any case, that's my review for this film. I know this review is a little bit goofy. I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things. So bear with me, if you will, which you probably won't. And apparently I have a low battery. Thank you for that low battery signal thing. Anyway, so because I have a low battery, we're going to go into this and we're going to get this done. So, because when you brawl with the Chinese Hercules, sometimes you need to bring the Black Cobra to New York Chinatown to help you out. Why? Because, of course, folks, I'm Brandon Wenzel. I review Kung Fu films. Why? Because, of course, folks, I know Kung Fu. So, that said, signing off. Hope you enjoy this. I'm not going to do anything else because, like I said, low battery. So, anyway, have a good one, folks.